Morning.
Morning.
There's your chair. I was gonna say, where's this chair?
There we go. Have a great meeting, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Political Liaison for January 8th, 2024. Is there identification of any media? I don't see any. Adoption of the agenda. Is there any changes, additions? If not, can I have a mover? Moved by Audrey, second by Carrie. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. There's no delegations. So adoptions of political liaison meetings for December 11th. If there's no comments, can I have a mover? Moved by Audrey, seconder. Second by Melba. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 6, recommendation from housing. Six Nations of the Grand River Development Corporation seeks to provide prefabricated homes to Six Nations of the Grand River registered band members seeking funding through the Six Nations Housing Loan Program. Whereas Six Nations Housing has policies that must align with the manufacturer to ensure code compliance and community satisfaction. Okay. Therefore, be it resolved that Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council authorize Lily Ann Mount Pleasant, Senior Manager of Housing, to sign the Memorandum of Understanding with Six Nations of the Grand River Development Corporation to set out terms of reference for community members who have utilized Six Nations Housing Loan Funds to finance the construction of their prefabricated home by Six Nations of the Grand River Development Corporation. Lily Ann, is there anything you wanted to add? Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. No, I just want to clarify what's in the briefing note to say that this is not a sign of preference, and this is not in any way meant to indicate that housing is recommending DevCorp. This is simply to outline that DevCorp understands what our policies and procedures are in terms of providing prefabricated homes to the community, and that they will liaise with us when required to make sure that they are in compliance.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or comments? Dale, Carrie, Cynthia.
No, I guess my question is, if that's the process based on what Lillian just said, why would we need to sign an MOU? Because I mean, if they understand what the guidelines are, that's fine, but I don't know why we would sign the MOU for a company, I guess, that wants to provide service to the community to construct homes.
It's mostly on the part of DevCorp to show that they have communicated with housing to develop their program. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't provide one, so community members are aware that that DevCorp's aware of the policies and procedures, and that they have open communication with housing to ensure they remain in compliance.
Okay, Carrie?
Yeah, so the community will be aware that it's just a prefabricated home and not the foundation. So they'll have to do that themselves.
That's within their contract with DevCorp. It's DevCorp's responsibility to provide that information as in accordance with their contracts. This just outlines that their homes that they're building are in compliance with housing code.
Cynthia?
Yeah, Lillian, what role does DevCorp play in this? Like, are they providing some of the financing or what?
No, they're building the homes.
She said they're building the homes. DevCorp's building the homes?
Is that like a financial undertaking? Like, is it costing them? I just don't understand their role, that's all.
Well, so essentially, they have a facility, so they're using Oneida Business Park to build prefabricated or modular homes to be provided to Six Nations community members. The community members would pay for that either through own source funds or through the housing loan program. DevCorp's essentially just the builder or the manufacturer.
Is there any questions, comments? Audrey and Dale?
Good morning, Lillian. Is there a requirement by DevCore to have this MOU or whoever they're dealing with?
No, it's not a requirement. Through our discussions, and I don't know if Matt is here, he was supposed to be here. With Matt and Nicole at DevCorp, when they were, and Dude Bomberry, when they were developing the tiny homes project, they communicated with us from the very beginning to figure out what the requirements were to make sure these homes were suitable for Six Nations community members, because that was their target demographic. And essentially, I'll just be clear, there's no requirement for this MOU. I thought when I was talking with Matt and Nicole, that it would be beneficial for both housing and for DevCorp to have this MOU in place to ensure that there continues to be open communication to better serve community members. If that's, if council's not on that same page and doesn't want that, then that's up to council to decide.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, just to give a little bit more context too, a few months ago, we all heard an update from Matt in regards to the program they were looking to roll out, and this was the 57th council. And you remember we all went to the demonstration at Oneida Business Park on the tiny homes. So the discussion that we had with Matt afterwards was to enable their prefabs to be included in the housing loan. The discussion around the council table at the time was to provide some clarity around that through an MOU. So we all went back to work based on the direction of the 57th council to do the work around the MOU to provide that clarity. We're bringing it back here in terms of the MOU that was requested.
Dale?
There was a 58 council on it, because I remember that in the 57. Yeah. No, sorry. I'm just looking at it in the sense of if they want to be a provider of material and stuff, that's fine. I mean, but I just don't know what their relationship would be by signing the MOU. And like Leah said, if it's not preferential, then I don't know why we would need it, because they would essentially be a provider. Lillian, would they be the contractor too in construction, or just supply the material?
No, they would supply the home essentially, and I know there was discussions preliminarily about whether or not they would provide the home to turnkey. It's my understanding that they want to stay out of that space and they're just providing the home to be set on the foundation, like a lot of manufacturers are doing now. They're getting out of the actual site work. In this case, though, what we were hoping to achieve by the MOU was that we had more communication directly with the manufacturer, in this case DevCorp, because as we've seen at previous conversations with council, the process of building the home is extremely complicated. It takes a lot of time, and homeowners don't have the expertise that's required in a lot of circumstances to do their due diligence in finding a contractor, finding a manufacturer. I know Hazel had brought up at previous council meetings just how difficult it is and time consuming it is for homeowners going through this process. And I think what we were hoping to achieve by this is having more open communication within these terms of reference set out by the MOU with DevCorp directly, to try and assist the homeowner with a lot of that time consuming work. And that's what we were hoping as housing, hoping to provide to the community. another thing that comes up for me is that DevCorp is not CSA certified. A lot of prefab manufacturers are CSA certified, so we know that we're not inspecting them on site when they're being built. So we know that they're in compliance based on that certification. DevCorp doesn't have that. So the inspections are required by housing. And this was just a better way for inspections to be requested by DevCorp directly when we reach those milestones, because otherwise, DevCorp has to liaise with the homeowner, then the homeowner has to contact us and request, and then we have to schedule with DevCorp when we can go in and do the inspections. And we were just hoping to streamline that process with this MOU.
I think what was discussed before and what Nathan was talking about was because we're in a housing crisis. And when this came about with ECDev, was the council before wanted, how can we work together for our community members to be able to buy one of these homes? So by doing this helps them with the loan program that you have to buy one of these homes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I have Greg, then Melba.
Yeah, hi Lillian. Yeah, that was just to reiterate the chief's point is that they working with Matt and DevCorp was to make these more affordable and an option for our members to find a home, and also kind of be within our cost of our within our policy for our loan. The thing is also that I'm glad you brought the inspections up, because it can be done there. I think it's that will help facilitate everything. And I think it's a lot of the homeowners have to realize that they're responsible for, of course, the foundation, the water and sewage systems that they place, and also the land, right? Of course. So yeah, I think it's mainly to get it an affordable situation for our members. One of the questions is that I had was if this basically is outside, for example, if we go into some type of purchase of emergency homes for emergency housing, this would be a separate issue from that. If, for example, Habitat for Humanity wanted to help us out with setting up some type of emergency home system or situation here on the reserve, this wouldn't have anything to do with that, would that?
No, this wouldn't affect it all. This is just to outline community members using housing loan funds to purchase the tiny homes through DevCorp.
Great, thanks.
Melba?
Yes, sorry. Thanks, Lillian. Yeah, I think around this table, we certainly have talked many times in various areas of increased information, communication, transparency to community members as well as ourselves to understand more. So I think this is a very good thing. With your questions today, all you counselors, we have understood more here around this table as a result of Lillian and Matt being I guess, business partners to increase support to the community through housing. So I think it's a very good thing. We're doing what we're supposed to do, and I think they're doing what they're supposed to do. Thank you.
Cynthia?
My question may have been answered by what Greg's statement, but I was wondering is if housing has like sites designated to place these houses on once built?
No, these aren't outlining homes being purchased by housing. These are outlining homes being purchased by community members through the housing loan program. So this isn't to address the emergency housing. I know that had come up as a separate issue with our list to purchase homes through DevCorp to address emergency housing. This is just simply to outline the terms for community members who are using housing loans to purchase the tiny homes through DevCorp.
Just before Dale, Matt, did you want to say a few words?
Sure. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for being a few minutes late. Certainly, I didn't pick up on all the conversation, but our interest here is to provide a solution to help provide affordable housing options for community members. It's not an exclusive arrangement with housing. Of course, community members can make their own decisions. But as we go through this conversation, we need to make sure that we're clear with the community members that what this is a housing solution, but does not contemplate the homeowner dealing with infrastructure items like their foundation, water access, hydro connections, and those types of things. And so the synchronization of how one would purchase a home through this tiny homes project to the housing department will allow them to provide financing, but there's also considerations for community members with respect to that infrastructure, and the timing of the same, so that when the product shows up, the site is ready. So there's going to be some coordination and synchronization to make that happen. But I think that based on our conversations with the folks that have expressed an interest in the product so far, we have over 200 people who have joined the interest list. We've had some early outreach with most of them. Most of them are not financially ready to proceed with a commitment. If they're not going through the housing program, we require them to provide a deposit of 50% of the total purchase cost, which is basically the materials cost that we have to purchase in order to start the construction. And there's a lot of interest out there, but there's not a lot of resources for those community members to actually start. So I think this MOU will provide a foundation to get this ball rolling on this product, and will allow us to achieve scale and ultimately prove out the business model as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Dale, then Audrey, then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I'm not against the idea of providing something that's more economical for community members. I'm not against that. I guess my whole idea is that the development corp will be a supplier of material, I guess somewhat similar to Timber Mart or Home Depot, where somebody may go buy their material, except that it's I guess prefabbed in the sense certain things or components will be constructed. I understand that, but if it's more economical, I'm not against that. It's just I guess if the MOU is something that housing needs to be able to have that working relationship, I can understand that. But you're right. I mean, I go with your first comment that it's not a preferential, because the homeowners have that freedom and choice of who they want to hire to do what they want to do for their own home. Thank you.
Audrey, then I see Hazel's hand.
Oh, thank you very much. I guess this goes to Matt. How are you going to put this out to the community, and when? So that the community can understand exactly what it is that has been going on, and they get a clear understanding, so they know and they're not confused. And is there someplace that they can contact, their contact person that can give them more information? And I think it really has to be spelled out, because, do they have to have a foundation? I think a lot of people will think that that you're supplying the foundation. All the materials, cleanup, all that sort of stuff for a homeowner needs to be spelled out, just exactly what it is. And I think you'll do a good job doing it, but that's my question.
Yeah, if that's for me, I mean, I can say that I think this MOU is, really the key step with the DevCorp working together with housing to put together that narrative. I think that, once we have this in place, we will likely enter into a joint press release announcing this process, and then work together with Liliane and her team on how we roll this out to those people who are coming up on the housing list or are already approved on the housing list, to make sure that they are fully aware of what the expectations are for them as a homeowner. Doesn't necessarily have to be a full foundation, could be slab on grade. There's optionality that they may have to work within their approved loan amount. But I think that those are like bespoke one-off deals based on the community members' readiness to actually engage in this potential solution. I think, to Dale's point, this is an option for homeowners. It's not something that's required. If they want to do their home construction themselves, then all the power to them. This is just an option in the market that's affordable, that we know is at least 40% cheaper than any other prefab type home of this similar structure that you can find in the marketplace. And that's one of the reasons why we did this. So I think, Audrey, to answer your question, it's a collaborative effort to communicate and make sure that we work together hand in glove with housing, so the community members fully informed of their obligations.
Yeah, I'm all for providing the opportunity.
Hazel?
Thanks, Carrie. I'm just wondering with the MOU that's being discussed and the questions that are being asked, it kind of speaks for itself that an MOU would be better to put all the pertinent information into there so there's no misunderstanding of this program. And I guess what I'm wondering right now, Matt, is if you just buy materials and things like that, why don't you just go into a full-blown business of building these to a certain standard, and then the homeowner, once it's located on their properties, would take over and do the inside to their own liking. To me, that I would prefer that if it was me, that house would be almost partially complete, but I would still have options at the end to make it the way I want it to look. Thanks.
Okay, so I read the resolution. Is there a mover? Moved by Elena, second by Melba. And before we go to a vote, Lilian, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just to Hazel's question, or I guess comment, and to clarify, these homes are customizable as are most prefab homes. So the homeowners do have the option of choosing their finishings within a certain, I guess, standard. And I will just comment that where we see the most cost effectiveness with prefab is actually in the finishings, because it tends to be the most expensive part of the kind of customization process, outside of things like the framing and septic systems. That's where you see most of the markup is in the finishings. So I don't think the homes would be as cost effective if you just finished them to say framing or drywall and then allowed the homeowners to choose their own cupboards and fixtures and things like that. So it would defeat the purpose of the cost effectiveness and affordability of these homes. And to say that standardizing the process makes it more cost effective and time efficient for the manufacturer themselves. So right now they kind of need to pump out 2 or 3 different types of home styles and sizes, with the finishings being customizable. But because it will be like I don't know the word for it, but because it would be like almost like a manufacturing line, the more customizability that you allow makes it less affordable and less efficient to actually build the homes. So I think there is, to a certain level, of customization with the homes, but going beyond that would defeat the purpose of the program. And Matt can speak more to that as well if he wants to, but that's what we see within housing, is that cost effectiveness comes where the finishings are concerned, and having those economies of scale, which I know I've discussed with council before. So yeah.
Okay, so again, moved by Elena, second by Melba. All in favor? Matt, were you talking?
I was just gonna echo Lillian's comment.
Okay. So again, moved by Elena, second by Melba. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Waive second reading. Elena, second by Melba. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Thank you, Lillian and Matt. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Have a great week.
Bye.
Cynthia?
Just before we move off of this topic, obviously we're in a housing crisis, and I think part of that crisis are individuals don't have land on which to build a house. When land comes up, it's so astronomical in price, people can't afford it unless they're what seems one of the cigarette manufacturers. It's just out of their price range. And because the housing and ECDev have put their heads together, I wonder why council's head wasn't in that putting together. That is why we have land, council has land. Why couldn't we designate land to go with these homes? I'm just afraid people will be stuck. You know, okay, this is affordable, but now we have no place to park our house now.
Okay, so yeah, it was discussed last term, and again, it went to the infrastructure committee, and Nathan probably be able to talk more on that.
Yeah, there's a number of discussions, and I think that's something going forward when the infrastructure committee does meet, when council reps go to that particular, I think it's a task force, eh? Yeah, that one of the important topics is land use, and designating certain areas. And it really goes back to the zoning, the residential and those aspects of things, to look at how best to use existing ban lands. So when we get to that particular point and get the infrastructure task force back up and running, those will be some of the topics we talk about going forward. In inclusion to that, there were discussions last term around bringing in our lists and also doing that emergency homes based on the lands that we do have available.
Yeah,
You have you have a follow-up,
I
Cynthia?
do.
Okay,
I've attended some of those meetings. So I know the scope, and a lot of it was their, I guess their geosystem, the mapping, electronic and all of that. So there are lands already identified. I'm just a very impatient person. I think it would be good if they got right to it, if that's where it goes through, and come back and identify said lands. So that it's all in readiness when these, I don't know what the estimated date is to have these homes built. I don't know whether it's spring or what, but it must be relatively soon. But I think that everything should be in order, not, I don't know, I'm just very impatient. Because I went to those meetings and it's, sure enough, they've got land, it's already, earmarked. They can bring it up and say, this has servicing, this doesn't, here's whatever. I mean, that information is at hand. I think council should direct that. I mean, we're supposed to be directing things around here. That be a priority, so that land is identified, so when these folks, whomever, I don't know how many units are they building for this project?
project.
The ones
Just so
we're
you
just
know, yeah.
talking about, building
No.
these houses.
Those houses are for individuals,
I
could
realize
buy,
it,
but
I
we're-
realize it,
but
but how
right-
many units are they building?
and that's the part where I know they have 2 right now, and they're just taking orders to build who wants them, to my understanding. Is that right? Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, Cynthia, what it is it's like you applying for a loan. So when you apply for your loan based on housing's policy, you need your 1 acre of land. And then what the development corporation is offering is another avenue for someone to go buy, to get the material to put their house together. So essentially, they still need that acre land based on housing's policies, but they're not developing like a little subdivision or anything like it's gonna be for emergencies or for like we have in the trail back there. So it's a little bit different if council is doing that and they're setting aside that land for what you're saying is, but it's not a project that's gonna develop housing for a community member or a subdivision. That's a whole different ballgame. But right now, what they're offering is based on you or me getting a loan, and then we can look at the development corporate, whether we want to buy their product and them supply us with the material.
No, I realize that. And I didn't see the background, but I assumed wrongly, I guess, that in this MOU, they would have said through our mutual, whatever it is they've got going on, we're gonna develop or build 10, 20, whatever it is of these homes. But I'm just saying, the problem remains, it's not, I understand, being a subdivision, it doesn't have to be a subdivision per se, but the big issue is people don't have land on which to build a home. So I believe I don't know what's taken so long. We should be making that a priority from this group to come back with here's lands that council will provide for the community members to buy. They can't buy land. And I realize it's not a subdivision, but nonetheless, we need to do our part.
For sure. And I think that's the whole difference once everyone gets their portfolios and stuff, because in the infrastructure this time, there's gonna be counselors who sit on it. And that's the part where we'll know what's going on and to be able to bring what you're talking about forward, and let's get moving on where's the water lines for sure. And I think pretty much last council is totally in agreement of what you're saying. And you're right, for sure, once everything gets in motion, get a counselor to sit there, let's bring it to the floor, for sure. Audrey, and then let's move on to number 7.
Yeah, I agree with Cynthia. I've been thinking about this for a long time now. And that is that big picture. And that's what to me, she's alluding to here. We do need to get a big picture going here, and that is manufacturing on Six Nations, similar to what Matt's doing, but having council have these companies where everybody is trained. And it's in construction, it's in large equipment, asphalting, all that sort of stuff. To have a great big huge business operation going here, so that we don't have to seek outside help, that we can build our own houses. And we can do it at a cheaper rate, but good quality. And we can pay people's driveways less than they can from non-members. And all of the manufacturing we can do, but it also involves training dollars, and involves us all sitting down and planning it together. And it's huge. So when we get maybe our settlement, we can get our planning done and started before then, because the sooner the better, because we have so many young people coming up who need a house. Yeah.
Hazel?
Yeah, I just wanna talk about like what Cynthia is saying, and I fully agree with you, Cynthia, because it's almost like we think we're moving ahead and getting an option for people to get a home faster than what's going on now. But then if that person does not have some land and they're trying to get land, like hardly anybody will sell land. And when they do sell it, the price is outrageous. I've always had an issue with council buying land here and there. Anybody that wants to get quick money, it seems to me, wants to sell all of what they own to the council. And I don't know the prices that council has paid for all of those banned lands, but they just sit there. They're just sitting there with nothing happening. I know farmers had wanted to utilize those lands to do agriculture, but even that was a big issue on rent and stuff like that. Like, why not make the lands useful? They can generate income for council now. If they're just setting fallow, let the farmers rent it and have the lands being worked, because all of that helps us as a community with what's coming in here. And I just see well, I know I had I'll tell you what happened here, and the reason I'm saying this is because I had a relative call me, and she's quite elderly. She's in her 80s. She's so upset that her brother sold family lands to council, and he never even corresponded with his family to see if they wanted it, and they wanted it when they found out that he had done that. So I think well, at that time, they wanted to buy some of that land back of their family land. I don't know what happened. I never heard any more about it. But I think we need to be careful when we're buying land, and what price are you paying? Because if somebody wants millions, well, we're setting the precedent for the people to have to pay millions when they buy land. So there's a lesson here, and I agree with you, Cynthia. It's something that we need to be proactive on to get something in place where if somebody wants a house now and they don't have land, they have an option to purchase a little lot within the band lands that are owned. Thank you.
So, and I have, Nathan, so he'll get, a map of that for you guys, so we all can see it for sure. Leslie, and then we'll move on to number 7, scheduling. Go ahead, Leslie.
Other reserves, they assign their land at no cost to their people. I know for us, when we had to pay for our lands, we're like, no way, right? Like, I had to pay for mine, you need to pay for yours. But if we're gonna deal with the housing crisis, that's the true thing here is what is the why can we not allow a generation, even an age group, to go ahead and get the land because they're not going to be able to afford the housing anyway. This is the crisis that we're in, unless they're two incomes being able to afford these places. And it works. They still are borrowing money to build these buildings. The housing crisis. They're putting people in motels, our mothers and their family and their children, or seniors and their children, in homes in motels, 1,500 a week, 5,000 to 6,000 a month is being out there. That's per person. I can't even tell you how many people are out there in the motels right now, but it's being covered by some program or programs here at Six Nations. Yeah, I can see that coming together to build those homes. So I'll just put that out to you. And I know it's a hard go to think of just providing land to our people. I know, big thing to overcome. All right, leave that with you.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, so again, we'll discuss this more, future, and Nathan will, at least we'll start getting a map and, start getting, I'm just glad to see that there's council gonna be on this, infrastructure. So we can start moving and know what's happening on the infrastructure. Okay, scheduling. For the first one, the Six Nations Police Commission and the Six Nations Police invite Chief and Council to attend the badge presentation ceremony for Six Nations Police Constables on Thursday, January 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Gathering Place. So if you're available, please attend on Thursday, January 18th at 6 p.m. That's at the Gathering. Okay. The next one is Roma.
Sherry.
Yes.
Can I just add something to that about that badge ceremony? My granddaughter works in that at the police station now, and she was asking me, like, we're supposed to respond. I wonder if you could take a poll of who all is going to join on that 18th date because of their planning. She was asking me if I was going, and she was asking for numbers, but just going to ask council now if they want to say yay or nay to that, because I know that they're in the planning stage of it.
Okay, so let's go around the table. I am one. Greg. Anybody else? Dale? Melba?
I'm going, Sherry.
Elena? Hazel? Maybe we'll put you down. Cynthia, Leslie, you were? Dean? And Audrey's gonna try. And Carrie. So right now, I know Amos and Helen aren't here. So 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. And we'll ask the other 2 counselors. Thank you, Hazel.
You're welcome.
Okay, so number 2 for scheduling, again, the Roma Rural Ontario Municipality Association Conference. We'll do this one first. It's just for myself to go Tuesday the 23rd there, because before this came to the chief's office, I was already delegated to go somewhere else. So I'm wanting to go on the 2nd. Is there a mover? Moved by Audrey, second by Greg. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried.
Question, that's why I didn't vote in favor, because normally there's a package that's all put together. And I don't know, like, I didn't see that, what was done, who's gonna be there. With ministers, with ministry, because there's usually a package that's all put together on who's gonna be there, that usually comes, and I know, I tried to call Mike this one, but I just got his voicemail. And he usually puts that package together on who's gonna be there with ministers, so that it can all be pre-planned on who's gonna go and what ministers gonna be.
So
I haven't
that's,
seen that.
that's why I'm going on the second. The 23rd is because we do have, meetings, booked for that day to go. So, and it's regarding health, the one with the health, Sylvia Jones. And I know, Greg was working on that one with the Haudenosaunee Health Services on that one. So, I can get it to you. Brooke can get that to you.
Just so that we know. who's
Yep.
going, where they're going, who they're-
Yeah, for sure. Brooke can do that. Number 3, Six Nations of the Grand River elected council to delegate 2 counselors to attend, but go from Sunday, January 21st till Tuesday, the 23rd at the Sheraton Central Hotel in Toronto. This is understanding that in accordance with Six Nations election council. Okay, this written report will be provided to council in the next political liaison. So, Greg is one. Is there a second? And Dean. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as we've been working the last year on the Haudenosaunee Health Services digital imaging license set aside. As you know, the province last year went into more of a privatization of some of these digital imaging clinics. We were looking to see if we can secure at least one of the, I think there were about approximately 26 of these licenses is going to be released by the province. And we know that they get scooped up pretty quickly. So we wanted to make sure that the Minister Jones was aware that we would like to obtain one of these licenses, and that even that if she could set it aside, because there is an application process. And of course, we're going to have to set aside a facility for that as well, working with the Haudenosaunee Health Services. So that, and the other thing too is in that meeting that we attended, we were looking at some of the funding that was set aside provincially. I think one of the things that we should focus in on is funding for our lodge. She did say that there was an increase in funding for all long-term care facilities in the province. And I think that we should make a big point and push for, I would say, more adequate funding for our lodge as well as we move into the new lodge too as well. But that was just my comment.
Great. So I have a mover and a seconder. Do I have a mover and a seconder? No. Can I have a mover and seconder for Greg and Dean to attend? Leslie, second by Cynthia. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. At the end, I'll do it. At the end, I'll do second reading on all of them. So number 4, Indigenous Service Canada virtual tendering policy engagement session. It's taking place on the 9th and the 11th. But again, the 11th, we're in like portfolios. So the department is currently modernizing the tendering policy on the federal funded capital projects. So it's on Zoom. So I'm not sure if anybody would even want to attend even the 9th to go. You can do it here or at home. Yeah. So it's on Zoom. So if you're interested, just let Brooke know and we'll get you registered and finding the link for it. So number 5 is orientation with Amy Lickers, the portfolios. So again, it's a reminder that the orientation will resume on Wednesday, January 10th till Friday, January 12th in the chambers from 9 till 4. It's Wednesday to Friday. Yeah. So let's go to number 8. Is there any counselor reports? Updates? I don't see any. Okay, so let's go to the chief's office updates. There's a few. So the first one is the Jordan's Principal Settlement update. The federal government has approved the 23.34 billion First Nations Child and Family Services and Jordan Principal Settlement Agreement to compensate some impact First Nations individuals and their families. Compensation is not available yet, but you can get information to sign up for dates from the settlement and to find out when the claims are at FNCHILDCLAIMS.ca. So FNChildClaims.ca. But there will be more information to come to the community when this all happens. There's been some border, Cynthia?
On that, I don't know if the previous council had any discussions or plans to hire, appoint somebody that already exists. I don't know exactly who all our staff are yet. We never were provided. Remember that we had asked for that? Who is everybody? But we should be having someone to research and look into it and provide assistance, because it's going to be the same schmozzle as these other procedures that we've went through where people put in claims. And this one's going to be really, really a tricky one, I do believe.
Yep, go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks for that. So during the health orientation, you met Jessie Garsharf, who's the point person on this, and she provided a quick update on the kind of approach we're taking in terms of hiring navigators within the community to assist community members to help navigate through the process. We are concerned, if I recall correctly from that presentation, we're concerned that we didn't get enough money to be able to provide the proper supports. Because we know there'll be, as you say, there'll be a number of research requirements for us to go out and find individuals as well. I'm concerned that some will be in, the corrections facilities. Some will be, all across the country. So that's something we're working on, and we want to bring that back in order to be able to say, here's the amount of money we'd need to actually do this, and the navigators. So more to come on that.
Okay, the next one, I have again, still border issues. Yep, go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, just back on that, Jordan's Principle, it says you can get information and sign up. Has someone been appointed, like, when the day school, they had that Deloitte? Or is that further down yet? Because I'm,
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll have to deal with Deloitte again in this context as well.
So again, the border issues, still community members are still experiencing border issues coming across. Again, last week we received help to assist community members coming across. So we're again working closely with lands and membership with situations regarding these. The glebe lands, Cynthia?
Yeah, I don't know who sits on that committee. And there's some sort of a border committee, is there not? I just had the experience over our break. I went shopping with my sister-in-law over at in Cheektowaga, that Galleria. Anyways, we had our money already of what we thought it was in US to pay. Well, you can't pay cash. The woman said you have to we got in line to pay, and then you had to use your debit card. And I was in the thing where you know how you put your debit, it only goes in so far, and there was no place to put my code in. It wasn't working. And then she said, here, try this one. We couldn't get our cards because she has an American something or other. Couldn't get it to work. And then people are all behind me and they're all tooting their horn. I have bad temper, I must admit. I try to behave. I rolled down and I'm getting all flustered because we can't get anything to work. And she said, "Oh, you had to go in line one. Have you got cash?" I said, "There was no line one with cash." And she went flying the other way and they're all tooting and hollering at me. So I rolled down my window in bed. "Shut up," I said. So I drew attention to myself. She came running over and she said, "Oh, I'll help you out." And it was very embarrassing, let me tell you. She had to back people up and back us up and get over. And she discovered this is the woman that's supposed to be looking after this, discovered there is no cash line. So I don't know who our person is that talks to whoever at the bridge, but I had my debit card wouldn't work and I had money in my little account. My sister-in-law had an American one. We couldn't get it. So she finally had to go through some rigmarole so we could give the cash to get over. But
So, yeah,
if we had that experience, I imagine a lot of people are gonna have that issue.
so was that at Rainbow or Buffalo? Buffalo, yeah, because exactly when I came across, you could only use your debit or Visa. And I said, "Well, you're sitting there. Like, do you want my cash?" I had my cash out. She goes, "We don't do cash. You have to do that." So again, we'll put that on the radar because not everyone has even a Visa or, like you said, having trouble putting your card in for debit and everything else. Yeah, yeah. So the next one is the Gleeblands. Oh, Helen?
I know the last time I went over there, there was a cash line, because I seen that. I thought, cash line, I'm gonna go there. Maybe they've stopped doing it now. Maybe they've taken it out.
But this woman that was running back and forth trying to keep us all calm, or me calm, she thought there was a cash line. Then she said, "It's line one, I'll back you up." But then there wasn't. She had to go in and open up a kiosk to take our cash.
Yeah. So the Gleeblands, again, we're still working on the Gleeblands. We have been successful in clearing the lands to ensure that the community members are connected with programs and services. The same with non-community members. They're connected with Brantford programs and services. And now the next step is much needed environmental assessment of potential environment contamination of the lands. The next one is the Haldeman and Norfolk mayors. My office met with Mayor Shirley Ann Bentley and Mayor Amy Bentley. We discussed the needs for the water infrastructure to service all three communities. This has been going on for years. I think beginning of COVID that I can remember that we went with the government, asking the government to provide funds for water lines that provide drinking water access to hundreds of homes in the southern part of our community. And, but the province pretty much denied it. And I think that's about 800 to 1,000 community members' homes that would assist. The J Treaty work, we are continuing discussions on being done at the Canadian government to recognize the J Treaty. Under the J Treaty, the Crown agreed to allow those recognized as Indians to cross the Canadian border freely. But the First Nations concerns about the pan-Indigenous approach that fails to respect our identity to our rights is still happening. The federal government has indicated that are considering change in language that refers anyone under the Indian Act to Indigenous. So again, that word is Indigenous is coming out a lot with Canada, the government. We will continue to follow the work of the J Treaty Alliance and will provide full briefing to council for sure. The next one is January 22nd. There'll be some more documents. Promoting healthcare at Six Nations. Six Nations has expert in healthcare from our community who could love to do their work in the community more directly. My office has lined up meetings with provincial healthcare authorities to discuss ways to establish more direct support for healthcare in our community. We'll report back to the community as we seek progress in this important matter. Next one, providing feedback for the preliminary review of cannabis legislation. Councillor Fraser and I joined members and the members of the Six Nations Cannabis Commission to give some feedback to an expert panel on the problem caused by federal cannabis legislation. So the expert panel is conducting an official review of the government's actions as required by the Cannabis Act every 3 years. Still, many First Nations are not happy with how rapidly the federal government legalized cannabis in 2018, and still lack of consultation and consideration how it would affect us. And the federal government is still not taking adequate steps to respect First Nations jurisdictions. So again, still working on the cannabis. Just before closing, I just want to introduce council also and the community. My chief of staff, who just started this month, last Monday or last Tuesday, Linda Parker. So if anyone needs to get in contact with me in the community, Linda Parker, she is the chief of staff. That'll be in my office. So again, thank you for joining us. I need a mover to adjourn the open. A move by Carrie, seconder. By Melba, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great day.